Hello and welcome back to my channel again today. Today I am working on this is my vectra. The job I am doing today on my vectra is, unfortunately I have got a split in a CV gator. Now obviously people that have worked on cars are quite used to these type of things. A lot of people when they see here split CV gators think that the job is an absolute nightmare and very involved, when actually it isn't. Now this one has got a split inner. Now this is the CV gator and this part costs literally £10. Now to get the drive shaft out, obviously it's all the way behind the hub, and when you look at this job it looks like it's a proper handful, but believe it or not, to get your drive shaft out, literally all you have to do is undo 3 bolts. It's as simple as that to actually extract your drive shaft. You have got to disconnect your steering arm from your hub. The lower ball joint, in this case, it hasn't got a tapered ball joint. It uses a fit, and it has a pinch bolt basically. And then the other bolt that you've got to undo is your main hub nut. Now I'm going to fire all these off with a gun, clean them all up and everything before I do it. And then once you've literally undone these bolts, you push the bottom arm out of the bottom of your hub. So I normally put a big bar in, just lever it down, a couple of claps of a hammer and it pops out. Steering arm, same thing, just give it a whack, not on the end of the thread but actually on the knuckled arm where the actual taper joint comes in. You whack it right on the end of the arm and the shock releases your tapered ball joint. And then once you've done that, push the lower arm down, pull your hub out and literally pull your outer CV out of your hub. Push your hub round to the back so the actual drive shaft is hanging out like a waggy tail. And then basically, to get this one out, now this has got a slave shaft on the back of it, and the drive shaft is connected into this slave shaft almost exactly the same way that it would be connected into your actual differential if you're into your gearbox, with what's called a snap ring. So basically what you have to do to get it out, you have to get a bar on it and then strike it a couple of times and knock it out of the actual slave shaft. If it was into your gearbox, you'll be doing it the same way. So you get behind it, shafts in like that, if you imagine, into the actual gearbox, with the CV cut, with the shaft going into your gearbox, and you'd strike the actual shaft and pop it out of the actual gearbox. Now obviously this one, because it's going into a slave shaft, I'm not going to lose no gear oil because there's no gearbox oil in the middle of the slave shaft. But if you are popping your drive shaft out of your gearbox, please remember that you must fill your gearbox back up with gear oil, because you will lose gear oil. Now on vauxhalls you go in via a breather on top of the gearbox. Don't try to fill it through the actual filler hole at the back of the differential. Go in at the top, because if you try filling the differential housing, it's baffled and you won't fill your normal gearbox. You have to go in through the top, fill the actual transmission side thing where all the actual selector forks are first, and then once you've filled that up, it will spill over the baffle into your differential housing, and then once that's filled up, it will then leak out of the actual levelling plug. So good warning for if you are doing the gearbox. Those gearboxes are normally on F13s and stuff, like maybe F15s. This has got a bigger series box, 6-speed, so it's not the same. The filler plugs, I believe, at the front or somewhere, wherever it is. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to reload the camera, I'm going to show you these bolts, and then I'm quickly going to fire them all out, extract the drive shaft, and then we're going to fit this. Right, okay, here we are. We're down in the wheel arch now. You can see your steering arm, which is here, nut there. You can see the bottom pinch bolt. So now I'm going to whiz these two out with the gun. That one. 16. Need an extension there. And what we're going to do is we're going to shock this joint out. Yep. That's now out. Give that a spin around like so. And we get that in there. Pin out. Next bolt that's got to be removed is your main hub nut, which is this big bolt in the middle. Now obviously I'm firing this off with the impact gun. If you haven't got an impact gun, the best thing to do is, before you take the wheel off, take the hub nut off then. Or if there is split pin or something, jack it up, get the wheel off, take all the pins out and everything, so then you can undo the hub nut, put the wheel back on, put it on the floor, and with a breaker bar knock that wheel nut off, knock that hub nut off. Now basically my gun, put that on there. She goes. That's the hub nut. But basically what I do now, I've got this big spike I use, put it in the centre, give it a clout. Get it moving. The reason I do that, because if you just clout the end of the drive shaft, you'll splatter all the thread at the end, and then you'll be there with a file trying to sort the thread out to get your hub nut back on. Use a big long bit of metal, shave it to a pin, or get a big long bolt, carve a pin on it onto the end of it, and then it locates into the centre. Nice and simple. Right, next we've got to get this lower arm out. So we've got to get this bar, this actual, now this is a pin type, so it's not like a, make sure there's no pipes up in there. Put my boot on that now, give that a push down. Simple as. Got ball joints out, so now we've got to drive this drive shaft out of the hub. There we go. Out she comes. Push that down. Simple as. Now you get her out. And there you go. There's my drive shaft. See my lovely split CV gator there. She's there. Getting them split. And that thing at the end there is your snap ring. That's what holds the shaft. Right, so I'm going to let you have a couple. Get this round and show you where I've pulled it out. Yeah. So that's the joint there that I've pulled it out of that slave shaft, and that's the back of the hub. You can see I've pulled it out, and all the mess from that split CV gator, which is basically, that's all the grease. Right. Right, okay, so now it's out. Got to get this over the bench, take it apart. Right, now here we are on the bench. This is our drive shaft. You can see our lovely split CV gator. Now what we've got to do is we have got to remove this joint, and normally the easiest way, get a screwdriver in there and lever this apart. Put that under there. Lift that clip up, pop the old clip, out she comes. That one off as well. That's it. So now we've got that off. Got our clips off. Now you've got two ways. You can either use a pair of clips, slip through your CV gator. There's no point in trying to leave it on as you dismantle it because it's split anyway. So your easiest option is to cut it off. Now I've got a razor blade here. You literally slice through it. Tail bit hanging that on. Pop that off. Then we set up through there, over the shaft. Pop that off. Now we've got rid of our old CV gator. Next is cleanliness. Now, unfortunately, anyone that's ever played this game before knows it is a dirty game. Make sure you have got gloves and you cover your hand right up, because it is disgustingly dirty. That grease goes everywhere. You literally got to swab as much out. Now we've got that pretty clean. There are two ways pretty much that drive shaft CV joints are held onto the end. Now there are options you have here if you don't want to go pulling that CV joint apart and taking it off the end of the drive shaft. You could use something called a stretchy boot, which basically is an elasticated boot that you can pull, you turn it inside out, and you can stretch it over the CV joint, flip it back the right way, and then tie it on. Sometimes to help you get them on, you can put them in warm water, which makes them even more stretchy. The other way that you can do it is you can get the cone, or a cheap way is you can get a water bottle, like a bottle, cut it in half, put it over the end of the CV, covered in grease, and whop, on you go. But the best way and the best results because stretchy boots don't have that long a life, but a proper fitting boot will last a long time, so it is the better option. Now obviously, like I said, there is two ways that drive shafts are mounted. One way is a snap ring, which is very similar to what you see on this end here. So if I lift this up, you have a snap ring on the end of the drive shaft, which is pushed through the CV joint, and literally you have to flip your drive shaft up, your CV joint over, so you can get to the inner part of the CV, and then so you can knock it off with a hammer. Now this one is mounted with the other system, which is a C-clip, which is on this side of the drive shaft, but you have to open it up. And when you open it up, it will let go of the slot which is in the drive shaft, and then you can physically pull the CV joint off. Now these are actually the worst ones to get off, and they're normally always found on vauxhalls, and they can be a proper headache. Sometimes you can get them, get your pliers in, open them up, and bam, they fall off. Easy peasy. And other times you try and do it and they don't come off no matter how much you try. They proper like throwing a spanner in the works. And unfortunately, that is the one that we are working with. Now, fingers crossed, we have a nice day. Now what I've got to find, you can use a set of C-clip circlip pliers, or on those pliers now, and the clip is right in here. We're going to pop this open. See. Oh, it comes straight off. Thank you! Pop! She's off. And that was very nice. Thank you, Vectra. Thank you, Vectra, indeed. Now that was a nice one. That was nice and easy. But like I said, sometimes they ain't. Right, you can see now I've got it off. You can see that recess in the drive shaft, which the clip sits into. The clip remains, if I could pull this out a little bit, the clip remains in here. Now, if I lift that up, you can see the clip, if you see, and that is the little C-clip that holds it all together inside there. Now luckily enough, we caught this one quite early, so it's not full of grit, which is good. All I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a nice clean up now. Okay, we got a lovely new clean CV joint here. Got our new CV gaiter, which is here. Our 2 clips to remount and seal and clip up our CV gaiter. And we got our grease. Now what we're going to do first of all is going to pump this unit full of grease and fill it up. Okay, we got a lovely new clean CV joint here. Got our new CV gaiter, which is here. Our 2 clips to remount and seal and clip up our CV gaiter. And we've got our grease. Now what we're going to do first of all is going to pump this unit full of grease and fill it up. Now when you put this CV joint on, it's best to have it like this because the guts will try falling about. So stand upright, the inside will fall down, stand totally vertical, ready for you to put your shaft in. A little bit of grease around the shaft. Big CV joint, CV gaiter. A little bit more grease, put a bit round in here. So, pop, 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 pop. Get our CV gaiter, push it on and over. I'll put it off again. Get my clip, get the CV gaiter on. So, you can do this right and get that in there. Put the clip. No worries. Push that on like that. And what we now need to do is we need to get this drive shaft and we need to insert that back into the centre. So, and in she goes. What we need to do is make sure that that fits in the way parallel. Whoosh. Things. Clips there. It definitely has. So that clip is now locked into that recess, which is now locked and binding it all together. Now what we're going to do, push our drive shaft back together, pull the boot out slightly. Get the rest of this grease and literally fill everything, fill it right up, and pop, she's on. Bam, bam, there you go. Our gaiter is now on. Next little job is to basically clip the thing up. Now this is quite a simple little job. We need to get our clips, put our clips on properly. At the moment, what we don't want to do is bend it out a little bit. We want to get just right, like that. Pop that apart. What you want to do is pop that over and push that together and it will clip together. Oh, there she goes. That's the little one. Pull it round. Okay, now we've got our clips on, like so. I'll show you. So the clips are here, they're on, and they're clipped in and they're home, ready to be fastened up. Now what I do, I have got a cheap pair of wire cutters, wire strippers, and I've shaved the ends just so they're like 2 little hooks like that. Get that on there and then give them a squeeze. Basically, because I don't have the leverage power in my hands. Then a pair of Stilsons. On there and give me a squeeze. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. And there you have it. One new fitted CV gator around the inner drive shaft of my Vectra. I'm going to give it a bit more of a clean up now, and then we're going to reassemble. Right, back in the car now. I'm just about to insert this drive shaft. And as you can see, I've greased it right up, greased the spline end, and I've greased this section as well. If you are doing this and you're taking your drive shaft out of a gearbox, make sure you grease this section, but this will be where your drive shaft oil seal sits. You can grease the other end as well, but I'd more go for a bit of gear oil. Now basically what we do, I'm going to get this back in here. Now if you're putting this in a gearbox, you've got to be careful if you imagine of this out seal, because this will be your drive shaft oil seal. So you don't want to catch it and damage it, otherwise your drive shaft oil seal will leak. And I'll push this in, lock it into the spline, then whack it home. Now that's now locked back into place. Drive shaft is now inserted back into the engine. Also, in future, if you are doing this in your car, before you actually start this job, check your drive shaft oil seals, see if they are leaking. If they are, then it will be worth your while replacing your drive shaft oil seals whilst you are doing your drive shafts. The other thing you can do is just replace them anyway for a bit of preventive maintenance. Right, okay, now I've got this in here. What I'm going to do now is I need to reinsert this back in to the back of the actual hub, back into the inner race. So what I'm going to do before I do that though is this section here, I'm going to grease it to make sure that the two splines don't seize together. And get your grease all the way around this spline, like so. Grease that up nice. Right, clean your hands right off. Now what we're going to do is we are going to manoeuvre this drive shaft over here, like so. Turn it, plonk that back into the actual spline end of the actual hub. So lock them two splines together, push her in, give it a little wiggle. And what we're going to do is we're going to push this lower arm down and relocate that back. Get it in there. Back to the bottom of the hub. Now that's on, should now be able to get it in, and there she goes. Lower ball joint goes in, and check this. Now basically with pinch bolts, they have a groove. Now basically with pinch bolts, like this type of system, where it goes through, there's a groove around the bottom ball joint. If you don't get them properly lined up and you wham the bolt through, you will destroy the thread and then you won't be able to do the bolt up. So make sure that they are perfectly aligned. Which this one is now. Get your pinch bolt, which is this one here. Grease the body to make sure it doesn't snag in the hub when you take it out next time. So that's a bit of preventive maintenance for you and will make your job a lot easier. And that goes in there. Get your hammer, bash the pin in all the way home. Nut on the back. Now what I'm going to do, flip the camera. Right, pinch bolt. Spanner. Let's go to 16 minutes. Yep. that. 18mm socket on the end. That's that tight. Fired up the hub nut, but what I'm going to do, put the wheel on, and then we are going to crank that hub nut up when it is on the ground. Right, so pretty much that is it. Steering arm's reconnected, bolts back through the bottom, main CV's through the hub nuts back on, CV's locked back into the drive shaft, into the actual fitting in the back of the engine. So that is how you do a CV joint, an inner CV gator or joint on a Vectra, and a lot of other cars as well. Most of the Vauxhall range will be very similar. So if you need any info, hope this helps you out. If you've obviously liked what you've seen, please like and subscribe and share my videos about. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you again soon.